Welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton. And I just wanted to share with my audience that if you're looking for more information that's wellness-minded for pregnancy, birth, and parenting, please follow me on my social media channels at Brayton Birth Method, both on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm really excited to be releasing an online program for my perinatal women in the very near future. So please stay tuned. So today's episode is going to be all about elimination communication with my guest, Adriane Stare. Adriane Stare is a Master Babywearing Instructor with more than 10 years of experience. She's also a Certified Postpartum Doula, a Certified Lactation Educator, a Cloth Diapering Educator, and mom to 2 boys. Following the birth of her first baby in 2009, she founded Caribou Baby and Wild Was Mama, Brooklyn's largest, hippest, and most well-loved baby and maternity retail shops and class spaces. She has helped thousands of families learn how to carry their babies comfortably and parent with confidence, strength, and intuitive wisdom. You can always find her teaching baby wearing tutorials on Instagram, helping parents in community clinics or in their homes, and hosting baby wearing workshops for other birth workers. Find her at adrianestare.com or follow her on Instagram at ADO_stare! Hi, Adriane. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Hey, Laura. Nice to meet you. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I, with my own son now, who's 2.5, we're having some potty training challenges, and I'm like wanting to learn all I can personally about elimination, communication, and potty training. So I'm just excited to pick your brain today and have us share all your wisdom about this topic.
Absolutely. And I think that you are not alone in wondering what this elimination communication business is all about. Many people have heard of it, but really not a lot. And everyone knows about potty training and everyone freaks out about it and they're not sure how it's going to go or when they should do it. And there's a lot of stress around that. But like, what is this thing called elimination communication?
Yeah.
Or EC?
Let's start there. Like, what is EC? And I also want to know like how you personally got involved with it.
Absolutely. So I am a mom to 2 kiddos. My oldest is almost 11. And my youngest is 7. And I practice what's called EC with both of them, which is sometimes called infant potty training. And it can be a little confusing or misleading. People think that it's sort of the process of just leaving your baby out of diapers from birth. And the image of that in someone's head who hasn't seen it or done it is probably like of a baby just like defecating everywhere and making a huge mess. Or it's like so time intensive that you literally have to hover over your baby 24 hours a day to rush them to the potty. And I don't think either of those sort of like visual images are very appealing, and they can often be confusing. And the truth is that EC is just it's the process of communicating with your kid around pottying. The radical idea that they actually know when they need to go and can tell you from birth through a variety of signals. And that because of that, you don't have to rely 100% on using diapers. Most families who practice EC use diapers. They just don't use them exclusively, and they use them sort of as a backup, but it doesn't impede them sort of communicating with their babies about when they need to go. And certainly a lot of the pee and a lot of the poo goes in the potty or the sink, depending on their age or wherever you're pottying your kid. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I mean, I literally am so ignorant in this topic. I remember my hairdresser 10 years ago was doing EC with her infant. And so she told me a little bit about it. And it did make sense that the baby wasn't 100% using the potty, but it was about really understanding the cues of when your baby did need to use the potty. And at that point, putting them, over a potty or sink, right, to have them pee and poo.
Exactly.
So I thought that was interesting. She told me that this was quite popular in Russia and maybe other European countries, but I don't think it's necessarily at this point popular in the U.S.
No,
Is that true?
No, not at all. It's like I definitely not popular, although people are more and more curious about it. I think as we become more aware of sort of like what is happening in our climate and the environment with how much waste that we create with diapers, I think it makes a lot of sense to people. But it's still sort of a foreign topic, though. I would say there's a lot, there's been more and more books written about it, and there's sort of more energy in the field of EC, which is great, because when I started, I was just told by a friend of mine who did it with her kid for a little bit. And I was fascinated because when you think about it, when you take a step back and you think, what did we do before there were disposable diapers, which is a new industry, pretty much when you think about it. I think in 1957, 92% of people, of babies were potty trained by 18 months. And the reason for that was because they were using cloth diapers. And people who EC tend to use washable diaper products because it's one of the ways that babies know when they've gone. They can feel wet, right? And fast forward 2 generations, the average age for potty training now is 36 to 38 months. And that's the average. So what's happened in that, like, very, that evolutionarily speaking, that's like a blip, right? It's like the time hasn't even happened when you take a step back. So what did people do before there were diapers? We haven't had laundry forever. And people weren't, even with cloth diapers, if you don't have like sources of running water and places to wash those all the time, people were not really relying on them. So babies were basically, in essence, sort of potty trained from birth. And of course, we lived in communities where babies were held on people's bodies a lot more than they are now. So if you're squirming in a carrier, it's really sort of like mindless to just lift a baby out of the carrier because clearly they're telling you they need to go pee, holding them over in a squatting position to pee or poo, wiping them off because they're basically kept pretty clean when you pull them into a squat. They don't get a lot of pee or poo on their bodies, and they go back in the carrier and you go on about your day. And before you know it, kids are independently squatting or crawling to places where they can go to the bathroom themselves. They're also learning by seeing all of their peers and other babies being pottied in this way. And when your baby's not with you, they're with, a mother-in-law or a grandmother or someone in your community or another care provider who's also practicing with them. So it's sort of reinforced in this very sort of fluid, seamless way. But obviously we don't live in that culture anymore. But with the advent of disposable diapers in like the 1960s, let's say, where they became popularized, 1970s, this was like a marketing scheme. Like if you look, there's a really wonderful resource for anyone who's curious about EC. Andrea Olson is the author of a book called Go Diaper Free. She's got a great Instagram. She does podcasts. She's really outspoken about it. She has practiced it with all 5 of her kids. And I'm just putting that out there now at the beginning so people can go research that. But I just listened to a podcast she did with one of the marketing heads of Pampers, who was discussing how when they first came out with disposable diapers, no one wanted to buy them because people were like, why would I? Like people were worried about putting plastic and paper on their baby's skin when they had been using cloth. And so basically Pampers began to tell people that you shouldn't, that you should wait until your child's ready to potty train them. And that if you didn't do that, you were sort of damaging them emotionally and psychologically. And they had to sell that message to people in order to sell their products. And now we're in a place where people are really afraid to take diapers off and like be curious about pottying because we're afraid that we're not following the child's lead. And I don't know why we think that in this one area of parenting that following our child's lead is like the one only way that we have to go. It's not like if our baby didn't tell us they were hungry, we would never feed them. Or if they were resisting a nap, we wouldn't still try and like put them to sleep because we know they needed it. Like we offer these opportunities all the time at different ages to our kids, depending because we're their parents. It's a very, parenting infants is a parent-led endeavor. And pottying is sort of the same thing. And yet it's not really gotten talked about so much. So I, as a new mom in 2009, was very curious. And I started just practicing sort of on a whim. I think I read some articles about EC and I just went for it and I knew nothing. And every time I would change my son's diaper as an infant, he would pee on the changing table, right? That's like a classic cue. If they're peeing all over you like a fire hose, when you change them, clearly like the cold air, whatever it is, stimulates them to go pee. And that's like a great opportunity to try and put that pee somewhere else. That's not all over the new diaper I just put them in, all over my face, all over the table and the wall. So I would take his diaper off and literally hold him over. I had like a bowl sort of next to his changing table. And then when we moved it, it was right by the sink in our bathroom. So I would just literally hold him over the sink for a few seconds to see if he had to go. And I'd ask him, and maybe I'd turn the water on to like encourage the noise. And I believe it or not, by 2 weeks, I would do that. He would pee every single time I would change him. And when I watched him go to the bathroom, I would celebrate that. And I would also cue him with a noise. So he would start associating that noise with me asking him if he needed to go. And for me, it was all about saving diapers. I was even using cloth diapers, but like laundry is a bitch and I am a lazy parent. And like if I can eliminate one diaper from each day, I feel like a hero in my own life. So it was really for efficiency that we started doing it. And the more that you see that your child will go pee or poo when you offer them, the more you start giving them opportunities to go. And by God, like if I wasn't watching this child take poos and pees in a potty at 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and saving all of these diapers and feeling great about myself. And people thought I was a little bit insane. But he was clearly telling me when he needed to go. A lot of people want to know sort of like, how does your baby tell you that they need to go? Every baby is different and you have to spend some time observing them. For us, when I was wearing him in a carrier and he would start to squirm as he was waking up from a nap, that was always a sign that he needed to go. Did I always take him out and offer him a chance to potty? No. A lot of times we were walking somewhere and I was just going to feed him instead. Or it wasn't convenient for me. But if it was convenient for me and we were just coming home from a walk and we were inside, if I took him out and took his diaper off, a lot of times he would have a huge pee that he had to take. So like that's another great time to try is when you wake up from a nap. I know when I wake up in the morning from a big sleep, or if I take a nap and wake up, I usually always have to pee right when I wake up. And it's no different for babies. So that's an excellent time sort of to try and watch your baby. If you don't want to like focus all your mental energy on watching what's happening with your kid, just try during these times of the day that make the most sense for you and are sort of likely times that your baby will have to pee or poo. And if you ask most parents, they will say, oh yeah, I know when my baby's pooing. How do they know? Like, what are some signs that your baby's telling you that they need to poo? Well, their face is getting red and they're starting to grunt and bear down. Or they're farting, like you smell that they are about to poo. Like we as parents know, whether your kid is in a disposable diaper, a cloth diaper, you sort of have an idea, or they haven't gone all day and you're waiting for it. Like you have an instinct that your baby has to go to the bathroom. And if you just spend a little bit of energy and time sort of paying attention to that and really starting to like acknowledge it and respect that, it's amazing how you can set up like a dynamic where they actually will start holding their pee and poo until you offer them. And I don't mean holding like for hours and hours, but holding like maybe giving you 10 seconds before you bring them over to the potty to hold them over. They'll hold that pee or that poo until they're in that position for you. And I think that with my second son, I probably went 3 or 4 months with no poos in a diaper. No poos in a diaper. And if someone had told me, like, if you really don't, like, who wants to change poopy diapers for those people don't like changing poopy diapers. So it's like a really easy way to sort of eliminate, you change a diaper. All diapering is work. this idea that like you need to take diapers off your kid and really sort of see what they're doing right before they pee or poo. Yeah, you do have to do a little bit of that. But the alternative is that you're changing 12 diapers a day. And you change a diaper, you put a fresh one on, and your kid poos right away, and you have to clean it again. It's all work. And if you can choose the work that looks a little bit different, where you're observing a little bit more and sort of responding to cues and offering chances to potty, if you could do that and know that you would be out of diapers completely by the time your kid was walking or 18 months and end the potty training process that much sooner, like, I don't know why people wouldn't be a little bit more curious about that. I would.
I think it's amazing. And I definitely, because I don't think it is really talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I even just thinking about the kids I see in my practice and my friends' kids, I don't know any of them that were potty trained before 18 months old.
Yeah.
And when I started with my son at 2 years, I had people saying, oh, he's kind of young for that.
Right. Well,
I'm like, you know what? I could tell he's ready. Like he was ready. And so, yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like now culturally, people are like, oh yeah, 3 years. That's kind of like the norm. Right. But
yeah, that's the average, but it's not normal, I would say.
Okay.
So that's the average of what we're seeing, but that average has looked a lot different throughout time. So, what have babies suddenly changed? I would say from an evolutionary perspective, no. Babies haven't changed at all. Parenting has changed. We don't believe that infants can hold their pee or poo. Like people laugh at that. They say it's not possible. There's no way my baby could tell me. But I will say from like the hundreds of people that I have met with and worked with on EC, I've watched people be like, oh my God, this is a miracle. My child just totally peed and pooed in the potty when I asked them to, and they're a little infant. And like the power of that experience, like imagine what other things your kid is capable of doing. It's like babies who learn sign language. Did your son learn sign language at all? Baby sign language?
Just a couple words. Yeah.
So one of mine did, one of mine sort of didn't, but when you get a kid who's really amazing with sign language or picks it up quickly, the amount of things that they can tell you before they can actually speak words is fascinating. And my older son was one of these kids where we would read a book, probably on the potty. That's one of the ways that I kept like a 9-month-old from like crawling right off immediately. He would be able to sign the animals in the book like faster than I could read them at one point. He was like he didn't have any language at all, but he could sign these animals so quickly. And I feel like when we give our kids, when we invest and are curious about alternative ways of communicating with our nonverbal children, they are so smart. It's amazing how smart they are and how much they'll tell us about what they need and what they want to do. And once they can sign, like, I want that, or this hurts me, and they're telling us, we're like, what if we didn't have this communication tool? Would I just be ignoring all these things and like not knowing? But what's interesting to hear about your kiddo at 2 years in potty training and sort of are thinking that that's the normal age. If you listen, to go back to the book, Go Diaper Free, if you listen or read anything by Andrea, she talks a lot about sort of this natural developmental time when kids are independent, are able to be independent and potty training themselves. And if we are keeping them in diapers, because at 2 years old, I mean, your toddler, he's like a real human, having opinions and tantrums and, making choices for himself, and starting the process of pottying at that age after having been in diapers for so long, where basically you have trained your child, like I have, and I mean, our whole culture does this. We train our child that the place where you go pee and poo is in a diaper and that you never take it off.
Yeah, it was like conditioning.
Yes. And that there's no other place that you go. And so all of a sudden, to like, surprise, the diaper's gone and you can only go poo or pee in this other place, that can be really confusing for a child who's like learned only one way. And and like on top of that, they also are not really in touch with being sort of independently taking care of their own pottying needs. It's not like they feel wet and they know that they need to go somewhere, because a lot of times we're using disposable diapers. So you don't even have the sort of physical feedback of what it feels like to be wet. And they're used to being in a poopy diaper for an hour before someone changes it. All of these things have been so normalized that they're not even understanding what's wrong with that. And all of a sudden so not only do they have to then put their pee and poo somewhere else where the adult wants them to, but they have to you have to spend a lot of time working on getting them to even acknowledge that they have an urge to potty. It's like they're sort of so out of touch with it. So it can be really extra challenging to try and start the pottying process, at 2 years old. So I tell people to start whenever people talk to me about EC and there's like, oh, is it too late to start? It's never too late to start, because the principles for early potty training in EC are so similar, which is take diapers off and learn about your kid. When do they like to go? How do they like to go? If you don't have any information about how often your kid goes or what they do right before they're going or right after, how are you going to learn how to provide opportunities for them to then have successes and make it to the potty? Right?
That's right. Yeah, you have to learn their natural rhythms.
You have to learn their natural rhythms. Every kid has their own. And if they're really not having any, then you have to set up like a sort of organized natural rhythm for you guys. And it can be as simple as every time you wake up and every time we have sort of a transition, like we're about to leave the house or we're just arriving somewhere, we are going to offer the potty. And that's it. And and that's what potty training looks like for so many years. I mean, I have a 7-year-old, and still to this day, every time we leave the house, I'm like, have you gone to who's gone to the bathroom? And like even my 11-year-old will look at me and be like, oh yeah, I got to go. Not that he doesn't know he has to go. It's just that, we're still parents and we're still providing these rhythms for our kids and these routines for them. Because half the time, if we leave school, my 7-year-old will on the walk home say, oh, I have to go, because he forgot to go when we were there. It's totally normal and okay. And if we can just start offering the potty to our kiddos every time we're sort of making a transition or about to get dressed or about to put a diaper on, that's a great start. And if they've just gone to the bathroom, either in a diaper or if they've just gone in the potty, hooray, that's a great time to sort of practice being without a diaper and seeing how long they go before they have to pee again. I mean, if you actually look at a baby who's laying naked on a towel, they don't pee every hour. They pee like in little tiny spurts, like every 15 minutes, or sometimes they'll hold it up to half an hour. I always say they're like little baby rats who just sort of like pee in little, like, and I would never have any idea that is what actual baby pee patterns looked like if I didn't take a diaper off my kid and just lay him on a towel. It's fascinating. So do I have to try and potty them every 15 minutes to 30 minutes throughout the day? No, I'm not going to do that. For me, for my lifestyle, it absolutely does not work. But I do sort of know that if we're moving between that, if we have an opportunity and, it's been a half an hour and I'm about to change, they pooed and I'm about to change their diaper, I'm going to offer them one more time to go before I put a fresh one on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, certainly like what I've seen now with my toddler is that, we were, he was using the potty, but we were putting, the big boy underwear on, and that was still creating a barrier, like almost like diaper.
Yeah.
Even though obviously he would feel wet. So he would still pee and poo in that. And it was like, what we recognize is going commando has been, like if we have to leave the house and he can't have nothing, he has to have something on his bottom. He's less likely to pee and poop in his pants without underwear.
Great thing. Yes.
Yeah.
It's so true, because oftentimes this cotton undies can feel just like a thin diaper.
Right. Right. And, they had like the little absorbent, like extra material. So, like if he pees without him, like that pee's just going right down his leg, and he does not like that.
Totally. I used to tell people, I'm like, the training undies, like, yes, are they going to absorb like a full pee? No. But the truth is that they're really for parents. When your kid is in training undies, they're in undies. Like, you are offering all the time. Like, do you have to pee? Do you have to pee? Have you tried pooing? Like, you're offering it all the time when you know that the alternative is having to change a full set of wet clothes. And so sometimes it can be like a little challenge for yourself just to see if like you can keep up with the actual amount of times that they need to pee and poo. But so smart of you to take those undies off, because that feeling of just having pure poo running down your leg, kids know that feeling. I used to put my youngest in like literally baby sweatpants. I got them from a friend of mine who also did EC. Like a stack of 12 like old school like navy blue and like athlete like just sweatpants for babies. And the best part about them is they have that like elastic at the bottom. So like if he peed or pooed, it was caught. Like it wasn't going on the floor. But he also knew that feeling of like, I'm peeing, or like he would stop what he was doing and at least tell me. So if I missed his cue or whatever, I could then say, oh, you just went pee, or, oh, you pooed. Let's go put it in the potty. It's like just one other way to sort of reinforce the rhythm of where you want the pee and poo to go, which is what it looks like in sort of early potty training, right? Because EC is not really about it's not about always putting every pee and every poo in the potty. And if you really focus on sort of where all the feces is going, and that it's always never going in a diaper and always going here, you're going to stress yourself out, and it's going to not be a lot of fun. And when it starts to become stressful and not fun, like, why are we doing it?
Right. And that, if you're stressed out as a parent, the child's going to feel that too. And that definitely can then create behavioral challenges.
Exactly.
So what's interesting, you did EC with both of your children, and I'm assuming that potty training was a lot easier.
Yeah. It looked really different for both of them. And I think that if you talk to families who EC more than one kiddo, they'll say probably the same thing. With my first one, EC was just something we did. He actually both of them were not great cuers. They weren't like making a particular squeal or giving me any one particular sign before they had to pee or poo. I just sort of was offering at times that made sense, and when I thought they had to go. And I was listening a lot to, and just reinforcing all the time. And it honestly was and I was cloth diapering. So it was no extra work to EC. And in fact, ended up becoming less work because we were using fewer diapers. And then by the age of 18 months, my first kiddo was definitely out of diapers, maybe even before then. Like he would be in a diaper for nap time or for nighttime, but even for nighttime, he had learned sort of how to hold it. And he was sort of like a stellar example of what early potty training looks like for an EC kid, which meant there was it was like a continuum, like a spectrum. There was no day where I'm like, now we're potty training, because for so long when he was crawling, we would put him on the potty and we'd read a little book together to sort of encourage him to sit for, more than 30 seconds. And even my husband, he's like, he remembers very fondly having this like morning poop session with my kid, which is so funny. But they'd go in the bathroom, and like before like I was about to go to work or whatever, they would sit in the bathroom. He would be on his little potty reading a book. And almost every morning, like clockwork, he would have that 10 a.m. poop or whatever it was. Usually kids sort of have their own rhythm of when they like to go to the bathroom. That was his. And you just feel so proud of your child and so excited about the fact that you don't have to change any poopy diapers that day. It's amazing. So when that is your experience with a kid who's like 8 months old, it's really not that different from potty training in older kids. So there was no definitive time where all of a sudden we were potty training. It was sort of always a part of our practice. With my second kid, I owned a a natural parenting retail store and event space in Brooklyn for many, many years. I was working just so much more, I would say, when my second was younger. So we relied on childcare from the time that he was about 4 months old onward. And so I was with him a lot less. EC was amazing in the beginning. Like, there's a picture of me in the New York Times holding him over a potty at 4 months old. And while the photographer was shooting the photo, he, of course, peed in the potty. And like, even the photographer was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing, little dude. Like, you're so proud of these infants that are like so sophisticated, it seems, when you're not used to this." And there was just a huge swath of time where there was no poopy diapers. He was like an EC king. And then something happened around when he was a year old, where he was really private about his pooping. And he really was very resistant to actually sitting down on a potty. And this is very normal. And this is where it's so helpful to have like EC groups or resources to sort of listen to like how to troubleshoot these tricky times when something comes up. It's like when your kid has a nursing strike or something that has been working for so long all of a sudden is not. And there's ways around it. You don't just stop doing it because it's changed. And so we had to really switch at about between 12 and 18 months. We were relying more on diapers because he was more resistant to pooping. And then we had to really sort of work on what I would call early potty training, which was no longer, I'm going to let you go commando and you're going to go poo over somewhere else because you don't want me to be involved in it. But I really care now where your poo is going. I care that your poo is going in the potty. And so we needed to change his relationship to the actual potty itself. And one of the recommendations is to have a lot of different types of potties and have them all accessible so they're easy to get to. And every kid sort of responds to different ones. And by having a lot of options, it gives you more opportunities for success. And so if he would ever go to the bathroom outside of the potty, we would just take whatever. Even if I had to wipe pee up off the floor with a cloth diaper, I would do that and I would go and I would literally put it in the potty. And it took us, I would say, 2 or 3 solid days of just having him in no diapers and just reinforcing this every single time where the poo and pee went. And then all of a sudden I would see him start having to poo and he would do his little, like, I've got to go dance. And he would look around and then he would walk to the potty and it became a place that he had a relationship with now. So it looked a little bit different, but both kids were both out of diapers by 18 months. My youngest, not so much at nighttime, though. He has been potty trained at nighttime and then goes back and forth, but he sleeps very deeply and still to this day will sometimes wet his bed. So every kid is different. Our goal with EC was not that we were potty training them super early. It was more just like establishing this independence and them sort of understanding their body. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I do really think that's awesome that you're, as a pediatric chiropractor, it's all about the kids that come to see me. It's all about having them really be in touch with their body and what their body is telling them. And even at a very young age, the kids that get adjusted in my office are able to communicate that to their parents and then to myself, like, this is what I'm feeling. And I think that's just awesome because I can't tell you how many adults I see in my office that are a lot more disconnected from their body, right? And what's going on. And I think it's really important for health to have that connection and be aware of what signals your body is telling you. So, peeing and poop is just, to me, is just like, that would be another normal thing to have an awareness of when you need to pee and poop, and then learning about where to put that, right?
Yes. I think of it so much. Like, you look at an infant and like the only things that they are doing, they're learning so much, right? And they're growing. When you look at them, like when they have to pee or poo, it's a big deal for them. It's like a whole experience, just like eating is a whole experience, or being hungry. These like basic primal like needs, like our basic needs. Like, as a baby, it's so clear to me personally, like, that this is a big deal for them. The fact that they wouldn't know that they're pooing is like, that's a big sensation. That's all they got. It's like they know exactly what's happening, and you know too.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I also, I think there is, like you said, more of an awareness about, less diapers in the landfills, right? Like, I mean, people are like, this is not like like how much plastic are we going to throw away?
Yeah, it increases your household trash by 50%. If
Wow.
50%, like immediately having a kid. And I think that that's oftentimes like really resonates with parents. Like if you don't care, if you are like loving disposable diapers and you don't really care about its impact on the environment, then like maybe EC does not make sense for you. But most parents I talk to are not thrilled with the amount of diapers that they're using and throwing away. They just don't feel great about it. I don't feel great about it. It doesn't mean I've never used them or don't use them. It just means that we're human and we know it. And especially with everything that's going on with climate change and just our human impact on this world, it's so huge. And
yeah, there's an awareness too. This is like the earth that we're leaving our children, right? Like this is what they're inheriting from us.
Yeah, I think so. And just the amount of water and resources that has to go into like dealing with those. I think that this resonates with every parent. I don't think there's any parents who are just like, don't even care about it at all. I think people might say that they don't because it seems hard, or maybe there's some value of maybe the thought of not having disposable diapers is so scary. Or so impossible that we tell ourselves that that we couldn't do anything else. But I don't think that's true. I think if people really understood what EC looked like and the work that goes into it, I think that it would not feel that impossible. I think it would feel like a really great opportunity. And it's sort of like you're front loading some of the work so that you can avoid it when your kiddo's older. And to have an 18-month-old who takes themselves to the bathroom, it's like, just you and I were talking a little bit earlier about the process of like, how much we sort of infantilize our toddlers. We change diapers for them. We give them all of their, we assume that they can't drink water from a cup or tell us what they need. And we keep our kiddos as babies so much longer when really developmentally they're ready to be much more independent from a younger age. And I don't quite know why we do that in this culture so much, but pottying is certainly one of the ways where you see that the most.
Mm-hmm, definitely. I'd love to know like tool supplies and resources that you could recommend for parents listening for EC. I know you mentioned one book, Go Diaper Free. What else is out there?
There's infant potty training. Basically, if you Google elimination communication, you're going to come up with a handful of books. Go Diaper Free is definitely my favorite resource because it's so multifaceted. So for EC is such like a manual process. It helps so much to see it. And Andrea's got just like a great Instagram. She's got video tutorials. She's got like easy ways to start for people who really need sort of like a cheat sheet on like how to get started, and they need those sort of bullet points, and that's how they learn. And I find that the variety of ways that she's talking about and delivering the message of EC makes it just like so much more accessible. And so I tend to recommend that a lot. But the beauty of EC is that if you are on a budget, really, you need very, very little. I mean, if you have a newborn, you need a couple towels to lay out so that you can practice during the day some diaper-free time, so you can like learn to observe their pee and poo behaviors and what they like to do or don't do, or if they glaze over and get really still right before they pee, or if they make a certain noise, or if they start crying in a certain way before they have to poo, or you just in general sort of like learn how long they're going. It's fascinating. So a couple old towels will do it, but certainly like a waterproof towel is a nice thing to have. The brand I prefer is called Peapod Mats. I used to sell it in my store. It's fantastic. It comes in different sizes, and it's excellent for the sort of potty learning years, because when kids are sleeping in bed and you're worried that they're going to pee, but you're not putting them in a diaper, and they do have an accident, you don't have to change all the sheets. You just sort of remove this waterproof towel and wash it. So it's like a laundry saver. It definitely helps to have some cloth diapers that you're using for two reasons. One, if you're just putting like a pre-fold diaper on a baby with no cover at all, and you're holding them in your arms, you can feel when they pee, and it's going to hold a poo inside, which means you're not going to get pee and poo all over you, and they're not going to get all over themselves, but you will know right away that they've gone because it's warm and you can feel it to the touch. And that's an excellent way to sort of reinforce that cycle of, oh, you just went pee, and cue them with your noise, if it's shh or whatever it is that you make for your peeing noise. So using cloth allows you to sort of stay more consistent with knowing when your baby's peeing. Second of all, your baby knows they pee. So they feel the wetness on their skin. They associate it with the sound. Maybe you then offer them a chance to potty to see if they have any more pee or poo to get out. And they start to sort of put it all together in their little baby brains. And you have a good foundation for, sort of communicating about this with them. And if you don't have cloth diapers, or you can't get access to a couple pre-folds, which are very inexpensive and great, I mean, literally you could do this with like an old dish rag and a scrunchie, like put a scrunchie around their waist and like basically make like a sumo diaper out of a dish rag. I've done it. You can get really DIY with it. It doesn't have to be an endeavor, but having some cloth diapers on hand that you know how to use, that can sort of come on and off quickly, are definitely handy things to have. You can get crazy with it. There's like split crotch pants that they use. So it's really common in China and not just Russia and other Asian communities. And they even have like little pants for babies that are, they are split in the center, and they sort of fold over each other a little bit, so that when babies squat down low, or when you pull them in front of you into a squatting position, the whole pants just open up. So that's like an excellent way for kids to be independent. If they need to go, they just like walk over to where they need to go, and they squat and they go, and they don't have to. And this is because it's very difficult for kids to figure out how to work with their little hands and fingers, how to get undies up and down off their body. That's like an advanced skill. Even an 18-month-old is having a hard time learning how to like undress themselves and dress themselves. So you need to really assist in sort of their being able to even get their clothes off fast enough to go at that age, which is why going commando seems to be sort of the easiest for everyone. It allows them to be really independent. And if you are at home with your kid and you are able to be around them and they are going commando, like a pair of leg warmers is really nice in the wintertime, sort of to keep those little legs warm so that they can be sort of nudie, and you can work on EC when you're just hanging out at home. No problem. And having a variety of little potties around, I tell people to register for them. Like if you're registering for carriers and bottles and strollers and all the other gear that you think you're going to need, like throw a potty on there and have it in the house from the time that your kid is an infant, because you can use it. You can use just the insert that comes out of the middle to put underneath them, like if you're on the bed with them or if you're going in the car somewhere. And then it becomes sort of a potty that they are familiar with and start to use through the early pottying years. Andrea sells one that it looks like an upside down top hat. It's called, I think, a tiny potty. That's an option. I mean, there's lots of gear out there. It's not excessive, and it's not like you need to have all of it, but there are certain things that sort of make it a little bit more feasible for folks who are just starting.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it's just fascinating.
Are you getting ideas for your next baby? Just kidding.
Oh, that does. I'm not having another baby, but that does remind me that.
Neither am I. High five.
I have, there's pregnant women listening with like first time pregnant moms listening. So I know personally for myself, like when I was pregnant, I didn't read about EC or learn anything about it, but I was learning about breastfeeding and other things, other parenting skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because it's really hard to read books when you have a newborn, like you're just exhausted, right?
Yeah.
So I could see why, maybe for these pregnant mamas, they might pick up some of these books, start reading about it. And it sounds like you can start this with a newborn. Like, are we talking like right after birth or like a month
within
old?
the first week. I mean, let's respect the recovery process.
Right.
Like if
for mamas
get out of bed and like to go to the bathroom, maybe like jumping into EC feels like too much. So meet yourself where you're at. I'm also a postpartum doula and a baby-wearing educator. And the first thing out of my mouth is always like, let's let your body heal and recover. We should all be pampering you and bringing the baby to you. But other people in your household can EC that baby. This is not like a birth parent only situation. Partners, dads, like keeping sort of sharing the magic with everyone is the way that EC works the best, is when all the adults in the household and caregivers are participating in the process where possible. Does it mean you should not do it if like your husband or partner is not into it? No, absolutely not. Make it something that you do with your kid only if you have someone who's resistant to it. But if they're not, like I guarantee you, once you hold your baby over the potty and they make a big poop in there, your partner's going to be like, holy crap, no pun intended. They really just did that. And that, like my own mother, I was like, Mom, can you just hold him over the sink and turn the water on and make this noise? I think he really has to go. And I was just sort of teasing her. I just actually threw her sort of just put the spotlight right on them for a second. And sure enough, my oldest son went to the bathroom right in the sink. And she was amazed that her grandson was able to do that. And of course, from now forever forth, it's her grandson's a genius because he could potty from, 4 or 5 months. She could, he just peed in the sink and it was like magic. And it does feel like magic. And you want everyone in the household to experience that magic. So yeah, if you are expecting a baby, read the books, listen to the podcasts, get jazzed about it. You'll learn so much more than you just heard me speak about, because sort of the history of diapering and pottying, and it just makes total intuitive sense to us as humans. And it's so easy to start and it's really fun. If you ask, I always tell people in like the cloth diapering classes that I teach, if you ask parents who've been putting their kid in diapers for 3 years, I always say like, who here uses disposable diapers and just loves it? Like, and then I say, who here can't wait to get out of diapers? And everyone who uses disposable diapers is like, cannot wait to be done with them. It's a wasteful, expensive, somewhat disgusting process. Who wouldn't want to be done with them sooner? But then you ask folks who are 6 months into EC or a year into EC how it's going, and people love it. It changes your entire relationship with pottying and using diapers the same way cloth diapers does. It's really nice to be able to wash your own diapers and reuse them, I will say. And when you put so much care and love into like this otherwise cumbersome, expensive, sort of yucky part of parenthood, which is, I mean, how many diapers are we changing a day? How many times? This is like all day, every day. When you can sort of flip the script on that experience and change it for something that we hate and can't wait to end versus something that we're fond of and we think back on with like excitement and love and joy, like how nice is that? How nice is that to sort of change that part of parenting from something we hate into something we love? And, I have little undies, tiny little undies that my first kid wore, my second kid wore, that I don't even want to give away. Like I'm saving them for like my best friend, because these are the things that are the most precious to me. And I love them so much. And if no one takes them from me and uses them, I'm going to like frame them or put them in his like baby box. And like, that is a beautiful thing to offer people. So definitely read about it when you're pregnant and get jazzed about it from birth, because it will only make things easy for you if you start earlier.
I mean, I am like, oh God, I wish I had done this with my son, because I mean, we are having a lot of challenges with potty training. And at this point, he is like, I don't want to sit on the potty, and he has his opinions and he can verbalize them and have tantrums. And, it's challenging. It's really, I feel like he would have been a rock star with EC, and it would have just made this whole transition a lot easier for all of us.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, it's really exciting. And I hope that you get to work with babies who are practicing and sharing some of that magic, because it just reminds us is how smart our little humans are. And how
I think that is
are,
beautiful.
and it totally changes our perspective of what all the other things that they're capable of too.
Right. Their unlimited potential. And I think that we forget that sometimes. And even like the words that we say around them when they're nonverbal, it's almost like they can't hear us, but they hear everything we're saying.
Totally.
And everything, all of our nonverbal cues as well.
Have you ever seen a baby do what's called the breast crawl, like a newborn baby?
Yes.
So for those of you listening who don't know what this is, please go watch videos on it. But it's when a newborn baby is placed on a mother's chest after delivery, after birth, or a birth parent's chest. When left to their own devices, they will start activating their reflexes and literally army crawling up your belly, between your boobs, on your chest, and they will latch themselves on to your nipple. It is one of the most amazing things to witness in real life and also on video. So get on YouTube. It's just when you see it for the first time, it's like, holy moly, this person who is just, minutes old, a half an hour old, is able to lift their head up and crawl themselves all the way up, and do this amazing thing and get their own food. It changes your perspective of, again, what these little people are capable of and what they understand and just how strong they are. And I think that it's sort of that you get that same impression when you watch your child potty for the first time, right, outside of a diaper on cue.
Right. Yeah. I can see why it's really awe-inspiring, and it shifts the way we treat them, right? It's like they're not just this helpless little being.
No, not at all. They're really capable.
Yeah, they're very capable.
Have independent, capable kids. It doesn't mean it can't be your baby forever, either. It's just really nice to know that your kid can take care of themselves in a lot of ways. I think it takes some of the stress off of parenting. Yes. You're going to be okay. You can participate in this.
Yes, I love that. Well, Adriane, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your wisdom and your passion about elimination communication. And I know I learned so much today. I'm sure my listeners did as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Laura.